Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at @itchjacino, and this is a post-match podcast for Arsenal versus West Ham. We beat them 2-0. Hey, yeah, we did it. So let's just keep the party going. I think it's good to sometimes just sit and reflect on a win without having to go too far into the future. We will have some conversations around like what do we do for the Leeds match? What does this mean? And all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, I just kind of want to focus on this performance because it was so good that I think it does deserve a podcast mostly dedicated to that. So we are going to go ahead and go over it kind of from start to finish. And I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask us questions and kind of guide the conversation a little bit. Also, to make sure that I don't forget things, because when I'm so excited about a game, sometimes I just forget things, So keep me honest, you guys. If I forget something specific in a match that you guys want to talk about, make sure that you bring it up. We'll be all up in the chat box, getting your questions and comments and all of that. So make sure you guys are active in there. But before we get started, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. How are you guys feeling today? Where are you watching in from? Let me know all of that good and wonderful stuff. I'm going to let in my co-host for today, who is late. Blame him for all the lateness. How rude is he? Io. Hey.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Jess?
Hey, you were late. You were late.
Sorry, my bad. What's up, peeps? Everyone good, yeah? 3 points, yeah? We good.
Oh my goodness. So you guys, the reason why I bring Io into these conversations is because he actually goes to the games. So we can get like in-depth description of what was actually going on if he remembers what actually happened. So and last time you didn't even really go. You went to Manchester, but you didn't actually end up going into the game. So I didn't get what I was like supposed to be getting from that. So you owe me something. You probably just owe me a
refunds
refund
in the
for,
post.
for that.
Refunds in the post.
For sure.
Refunds in the post.
But just to start off with, let me know about like the atmosphere in the Emirates. Usually when I've gone, the many times that I've been to the Emirates, because, I'm just that type of fan. I'd be going, you know what I mean? But it's usually like a little bit like weird. Like there's always like these little lulls and like a little bit of tension if things don't go right from the very beginning. What was the atmosphere like, especially post the whole Aubameyang thing? Was there any tension, or was it like good times in there?
It was happy days. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked, because usually you go there and it's a bit tense, and I thought West Ham, but I think most fans realize I didn't even know Moyes has never won at the Emirates, number one, and also last 6 games we've won them at the Emirates as well. So I guess really the fans were just confident, really, and in a good mood. The team's been looking a lot better since Everton. So yeah, I mean, it was a vibe. The funny thing, and I said to you before, Jess, that made me laugh was, everyone was merry. I was in the North Bank. Everybody knows the North Bank is really noisy and, buzzing and a vibe. And everyone's singing songs and whatever. And one solitary fan, I don't know who you are, bro, but one fan started going, Aubameyang, and like literally 100 people turned around and looked at him like, no.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we ain't feeling that. So yeah, we're a bit anti-Aubameyang at the moment, but it was a good vibe, great vibe.
That's good to hear, because the last thing you want is to feel any sort of tension from the fan base in terms of like this big decision that Arteta has made. And then also you wanted to see that it hasn't transmitted to the players. And from where I was sitting in California, it didn't look like there was any sort of friction, tension, disruption within the ranks in the dressing room. Lacazette came out as the captain for yesterday's match, and he led the line well. He led the team well, and it seemed like everybody was in good spirits and ready to take on a very difficult challenge in West Ham, which has been a team that's been really strong since last season, and they've kind of continued on that form and became somewhat of a dark horse for the top 4 race. And I still think they're a really good team. I think they were weakened by their back line, but ultimately, before the game started, what did you think our chances were? We kind of stumbled against
Mm,
teams that were in and around us. There was kind of questions around could perform under pressure. What did you
mm.
think was going to happen in that game? Were you shocked to see how confident we came out and how good we performed, despite the fact that we hadn't really had that level of confidence before?
Yes and no, actually. That's a really good question. Yes or no. I
Of
think
course it is.
I think when I say yes, I was confident. Again, I mentioned the record so far, and you know, they're not anybody that we've necessarily been scared of in terms of getting 3 points at Emirates. So I was confident from that. But it goes without saying they're having an immense season. You know, at the moment, they've really, really performed above and beyond. You know, like individually, I don't really fancy any of their players, bar Mister Declan Rice. You know, the rest of the players, you know, they're not pushing anyone out of our team really, as far as I'm concerned. But ultimately, as a team cohesive with how Moyes has them working, you know, they've gone out there, they're banging everyone. You know, so it's good that they came to us and it was business as usual for us, 3 points, you know. So before the game, I thought it'd be pretty tight because I said yes and no. You know, I think I mentioned to you, I thought it was going to be a draw, 1-1, 2-1, you know, but they weren't really in the game in the attacking sense, you know, because where I sat was in the North Bank and we were playing from where I sat, North Bank to Clock End, attacking that direction. And literally, I didn't really see much in our half. You know, I really didn't see much football. I was straining my neck to see what was going on because we were just attack, attack, attack. And I think I looked at the stats. This is one of the few games where we've had more touches in our offensive third than our defensive third, you know. And I think about it's like the fourth or third game really we've done that this season. So yeah, it looked good. It looked really good on that front for sure.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit shocked, at how good we played from minute one. I'm just
Yeah.
not really used to seeing that, but our home form is really good. So it's kind of like we do have a little bit of that Jekyll and Hyde about us. What are you looking at? What's over there?
I was just looking at the chat. Looking at the chat. I was
Oh,
like,
you were
okay.
it's like you were looking really far away. I was like, what's this? Like you like
No, no,
looking over
no. Look
there.
at that. I'm a two screens girl. I got two
Oh,
screens.
okay, so
Yeah.
you're fancy. But
There
yeah,
you go.
so anyways, so essentially, like, I just feel like there's a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on with us. We tend
Yeah.
to do really well at home, which is normal, for teams to do better at home and be less dominant away. But there
Mm,
is kind of like a severe drop off there that we have to look out for. And of
mm,
course, we're just going to kind of focus on yesterday's game, but going into two away fixtures against teams that we should be beating. I would like
mm.
to see something similar because I think our quality is better than those teams. Nevertheless, let's kind of talk about the lineup.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like not only did the players that played against Southampton deserve to continue to play in this game against West Ham, but I thought that that's our best lineup right now. And there were some questions around whether ESR should come back in, a little bit of frustration around Granit Xhaka and the
Mm,
midfield situation. But I just
mm,
looked at that team and they didn't play well against Everton. It was the exact same team that played against Everton. They were maybe a little bit dodgy in the first half against Southampton, but I think for what we're trying to do and accomplish,
mm,
that's probably our best lineup. And then depending on the day, maybe ESR comes in, but that's pretty much the only question really for me. But so I was happy to see the lineup was exactly the same from the Southampton one. But did you have any questions about the lineup before when it came out? Did you think, oh my gosh, like this lineup wasn't perfect against Everton? It didn't really work that great in the first half against Southampton. Did you think we should have switched things up, or did you think, oh, this is a good lineup, let's roll out with this?
yeah, no, exactly that. I thought to myself, second half, Southampton has got to be one of the best halves I've seen so far this season. So because of that, I was hoping Arteta did the common sense thing and just think, wow, the last thing I saw was that second half against Southampton. Why am I going to tamper with that and just go again with it? See how it goes. Obviously, have a plan B if it doesn't work out, but see how it goes. So when I saw the lineup come out and it was exactly the same, I thought, yes, I concur. I concur. Let's roll with the same thing. So yeah, ESR situation is a tricky one, but just how we're doing it, I think it works really. I'm a little bit mindful we don't put too much pressure on the young players. So to have them alternate the way we do, if it works, then it works. As simple as that, really. I'm going to trust Arteta to know what's good on that front and just make it work. But certainly Martinelli, we should not be benching that boy. He's come back into that pre-injury Chelsea type energy that I love, and I knew he had it in his locker. I've always been a believer in Gabby, and I'm just glad to see him back where he needs to be. Such a threat, so dangerous, always trying to run behind, always trying to make something happen, high energy. I know he got a bit tired to coming to the end of the game, but I mean, he's just such a wonderful youth player to have, and he's going to grow into an immense player. I don't want to use the word world class, but if you want to say what world class players, how they look like when they were youth players, he's got a lot of the attributes as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah, one of the things I will say is that I don't think Martinelli did he wouldn't have, if he had been dropped for the West Ham game, it would have been harsh because he would have done nothing to deserve it. And I think he did everything to keep the shirt. He was
Speak to
good
Ainsley though. Speak to Ainsley.
Well, I think it's a little bit different when we talk about the midfield versus the attacking positions, because our best players in the attacking positions for the last year have been the younger players, but the more fringe players / young players that are coming into the midfield, personally, I feel like when you're playing central midfield, the mistakes are so much more devastating when they happen. So, for me, even though Ainsley has played well, I think it's different, and Lakanga as well, than Saka and ESR and Martinelli playing up top. I just think it's a little bit different because when you're in the midfield, we saw it with Sambi against Crystal Palace. The mistake that he made cost us a goal. So I think you just have to be a little bit more careful in central midfield. But, Martinelli played well against Newcastle. I thought the goal that he scored there was really, really good off of the Tomiyasu ball over the top. I think he was unlucky not to get a goal against Man United and was one of the only players on the pitch for Arsenal that played with any sort of bravery,
without a
in that game.
doubt. He was a memorable player in that game,
Exactly. Where nobody else was really memorable in that game for anything positive, if we're honest. So, I think Martinelli did really well there. Everybody struggled against Everton, and then he played well against Southampton, and then came into this game. So, and what I liked was that he gives us something a little bit different. He can run in behind. He really presses to win the ball. So I really wanted him to play against West Ham, and I think he did a really good job for it. So when the game started and we were really pressing and imposing ourselves on the opposition, I was like, this is exactly what I want to see with a young team. The whole point of having young players is that they're going to be fearless and press and can do it for 90 minutes and all of that. And I thought in particular, Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli were really good on that front. Do you think that there's something to be said about us imposing ourselves on the opposition? We kind of talk about this in group chats and stuff like that, that we haven't seen Arteta's teams impose themselves on the opposition and kind of be like, we are the bigger team. We're going to stomp you out today. Do you think that that's something that just came with the occasion? Or do you think that that was something that Arteta's maybe was like, you guys need to go out there and do it? Because we don't see it all the time. And I wonder why we don't see it, because it's the same players, but they didn't play like that against Everton.
No, so true, so true. And it's a tough one. I'm starting to think it's just really the home court advantage. We're becoming one of those teams that when we're at home, we feel confident, we feel more courageous, we take more risks. We just feel at home, as you should do. And away from home, we just feel a bit tentative. So even when we score, we kind of go into our shells a bit. We don't kill them off, And I see in the chat, someone mentioned that, and that is a problem. Certainly away from home, we really struggle with that. So we really, really need to work on improving that for the foreseeable. Certainly, if we want to stay where we are, fourth, and keep the push on for potential spot in what. I'm not even going to mention it because I don't want to jinx it. But yeah, certainly Europe. We certainly should be in Europe. And if we keep playing like we're playing at the moment at home, we will be up there. If we can play like this away, we will definitely be up there. And then we're really talking, So I've been hard on Arteta this season, just because he's young. He's basically inexperienced as a coach. This is his second season. I feel like the job maybe is a bit too big for him. So I've not been an Arteta doubter. I said it to you. I'm not Arteta in, I'm not Arteta out. I'm probably Arteta doubt, and that's just, it comes and it goes, So we have performances like this where you feel like everybody's, got this game plan. The game plan makes sense, number one, and everybody signed up to it. Everybody's ready to go. And then you have games like Everton where you just think, does he know what he's doing? Like, why are they not, even if he has plans or strategy or tactics, why are they not obeying it? So, yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll see. We'll see. I was saying to you, we're 17 games in, 20 games in. If we're about fourth, fifth, and next 3 games we manage to keep it together, hopefully the other teams play their games in hands and we're still in the mix, then I think it's coming along nicely. The last 18 games should be ones where we really should stabilize and push on.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just kind of go back to that first half. We didn't really score. We didn't score, but I thought that we were dominant. And so I kind of had that little bit of that feeling like, okay, are we going to score the goal? Is this domination gonna amount to anything? But I felt quietly confident that we had outplayed them in that first half. And It was really funny just because, like, I thought that it was funny because the commentary out here was in the studio was that, oh, David Moyes would be happy with that half. Arsenal, they really drop off in the second half, and West Ham is a second half team. And so, this is playing right into West Ham's hands. And I was like, what have you seen today? What have you been watching? There's one thing being in the game, but we were outplaying them. Their offensive players had not touched the ball really. We're kind of sitting at the halfway line, pushing them back. We had chances. Saka had, Masuaku. I'd be surprised if he could walk today. And I'm so serious.
Me, that guy got that work.
What did it look like from inside of the stadium watching Saka just go at Masuaku? It was definitely one of those where we saw that they had a weakness in their wide fullbacks, and also Dawson. Who was terrible and lost throughout the game. But what did it look like, in the stadium watching Saka just dice him up,
Yeah, no, it was immense. It was immense. Saka, it was basically what I liked, and it was corroborated by watching back the game, was that we don't need to do the ball from Ramsdale to Xhaka, ball from Ramsdale to Gabriel to Ben White to Xhaka, ball from Ramsdale to White to Xhaka. I saw, like, in the highlights, there were times where Xhaka was asking for the ball, but they wanted to play it down the right, like more than 3 or 4 times we were doing that. We were deliberately making a concerted effort not to play it down the left through Xhaka. And it just goes to show, like, this team is evolving around certain players who used to be the sort of stalwarts and the only way we played football. And now you see we're going for other options. We're going to Tomiyasu, who's going to pass it to Xhaka to Saka and play it down the right. So that was beautiful. One thing I would say is, I think you're being harsh on Dawson. For me, Dawson was their man of the match, certainly as far as the first half.
You're joking. Dawson was getting Dawson
No,
was getting
no,
diced up.
look,
I mean,
please,
he
guys
got
in the
killed
chat.
multiple times
No,
by
guys in the chat,
Lacazette. He
help me
was a
out here.
shambles.
Help me out. No, he was saving their bacon. If it wasn't for Dawson, we would have been 2 or 3 up in certainly in the first half. So from my perspective, I think Dawson was their man of the match, and it says a lot if their centre back is the man of the match. So I think Dawson kept them in the game the first half. Beg to differ if people saw things differently, but that's how I saw it. You know.
Well, I saw the way Lacazette disrespected him in the second half and just turned on him and left him for dead. So, I mean, it was interesting. But I do think that we made sure that we exposed a weakness in that team that was pretty obvious from minute one, that was not their starting back line. And watching Saka just continuously go up against Masuaku was really good. And
Where was their
it's
low
like
block? They're supposed to have like really great low block in the previous times we played them.
well,
I
well,
didn't really see it.
I think that not having your center backs that you're really used to having and not having
Yeah,
Cresswell,
yeah,
hurt them and
yeah,
it weakened them. But
yeah.
also sitting in a low block against a team that, I mean, we're not great at breaking down low blocks, but we were yesterday. Like we were very patient and we passed around them to the point. And I think they just got to a point where they just said, forget it. We can't keep up. But one point that you made that was really interesting was that things are changing. Whatever. This is my show. Be quiet.
Sorry.
I'll let you know when you can speak. No, like, but
you.
you guys, I'm not rude, I promise. But yeah, like with Saka, the team is starting to defer to him as the important person that's going to make things happen. And we were such a left-sided dominant team for so long, and that may have had something to do with the team revolving its play around Granit Xhaka. And now they see maybe Saka as that outlet and somebody that we can rely upon to make things happen. So we're now more going through the right-hand side. We also have somebody that we can rely upon in Tomiyasu. And then when you add Odegaard in that equation, who I thought personally had an excellent game, we have some different characters out there that are making themselves important in this team. And how important do you think that is just in general for this team to start to stand up and these younger players to become the pillars instead of Xhaka, because he was like pretty much our main mode of moving the ball through midfield. And then obviously Aubameyang being the main striker. How important is it now for, kind of like the older players or more experienced players to kind of pass that baton on?
No, it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial to have that different dynamic. I mean, I was watching the match a few hours ago. My son's been at home like school, but anyway, me and him were watching the match, and anytime Xhaka got the ball and we are trying to transition through Xhaka, he's like, Dad, he's just so slow. He's so slow. And it's so true. Like our play just always slows down with him. The guy thinks this is Serie A. This is English Premier League, blood. Move that ball, blood. You know what I mean? You gotta move that ball. And that's what Saka does, Like Tomiyasu knows what's up. Tomiyasu knows straight up what's up. Once he gets that ball, where's Saka? That's all he's thinking. Where's Saka? Boom, pass it to Xhaka. Saka's running in there from behind, and he was having up Mushiaka or whatever his name is. I don't even remember his name, my bad. But he was having him up, as like you said, and we were getting a lot of chances. The only problem I think we had is inside the box, they blocked us out in the box. And, Laka's not that tall. He's not that physical. So he couldn't really get space to get the ball in the box from Saka and score. Although he had a few attempts. And that's where I said Dawson stepped up and he did his job because he pretty much nullified Laka's attempts, in my opinion.
But I think that's the most important thing is that we're not the finished article. And I know that this game was kind of important for us to feel like we're getting closer to top 4 and get over that hump of being able to compete when we're under pressure. But when I watched this game, all I really saw was every time Xhaka touched the ball, it was like next year, that's going to be a good midfielder. That could be Bruno Guimaraes, that could be Awar, that could be a good midfielder. What would that be like if that person was running into the box in to score, because really Xhaka could add 2 goals. And then watching Lacazette, I saw again, just imagine if that's Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Just imagine if that's so and so. So when I look at it, it's, of course they performed well and they did what they're supposed to do as senior players, but you can see that the upgrades are needed. You can see that the
Totally.
upgrades are needed. So it didn't feel like, oh my gosh, Xhaka, you're slowing the game
Yeah.
down. It was, I know
Yeah.
you're going to slow the game down, but at some point that's going to be somebody else. We know
Yeah.
that upgrade is going but I still think this team as is can go up a couple levels, but we do need some reinforcements. But I do hear what you're saying. Tony's kind of asking about how did Xhaka and Partey look on rewatch. For me, I
Yeah.
thought that Xhaka was Xhaka, for the most part. And I don't expect him to be anything other than what he is. I have accepted that he's slow, as like he's just slow. I think he's still a little bit rusty from the injury, but he did what he usually does: passes the ball to Tierney, relatively good positionally. Could do a couple of crossfield balls that are decent, fouls a little bit, and just that's what he usually does. But I think with Thomas Partey, he went up a level from Southampton. I still think there's some levels to go for him as well, but unlike against Manchester United, unlike against Everton, he was showing for the ball. He was going past the markers and beating the press and going between the lines with his dribbling and his passing. Was he necessarily devastating in the final third? I don't necessarily think so. A lot of his most important work was off the ball. But the most important part, I think the most important thing about Thomas Partey is if he has a bad game, we usually have a bad game, and Odegaard is completely alienated if he doesn't get the ball. And so Odegaard had a better game because Thomas Partey was getting on the ball. So I still think that Xhaka and Thomas in particular were probably the lowest performers out of everybody on the pitch, which
I'm
is
glad
kind of,
you said that. I'm glad you said that.
I've never been like, see, this is the thing. You want to fight about this all the
Guys,
time.
this girl is a Partey fan
I
girl.
am.
She's
I am.
regularly caping for him in group chats. Regularly caping for him. I just had to say that.
Anyways, so I still think that them being the lowest performers is not good. I think Xhaka is pretty much at his level, but Thomas can do better than that. So we definitely have
I should
to.
hope so for 50 million.
I get it. I get it. Have that same energy for other people as well. You don't have that same energy for anybody else, but Thomas Partey. It's weird. But yeah, I think that they looked fine. And I do think Thomas Partey looks more comfortable with Granite. I think
Yeah.
he doesn't look as comfortable with Lakanga. But we'll see what Arteta does moving forward, because I think against Leeds, you probably could play with Sandy. But in our biggest games, these are the two that I expect to see. But I would expect them to be performing at the same level, if not higher, than Tomiyasu, than
Yeah.
Saka, than Martinelli in the midfield, because they should be able to do that. What do you think about the midfield?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's an interesting one with our midfield because ultimately it's probably the least with potential. I want to say the least best, but I wouldn't even say our attack is, amazing. But certainly, as far as the midfield is concerned, it has the least potential. The attack, we know Martinelli, give him 10 more games, God willing, he stays fit. He's going to be an attacking threat with Saka there and, Laka doing what he does. It's good enough. He's link up plays, play off the ball, he's winning fouls. He's just not a number 9. Let's keep it 100. He should not be wearing that shirt. He's not a killer. Let's keep it 100. But ultimately, he plays his socks off. That first half, Lacazette played his socks off. And it's just a shame he's just not a killer in front of goal. We saw with a pen. But anyway, talking about the midfield, Partey, bruv, you need to get up to speed, man. I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to get up to speed. And I saw improvements in this game compared to Gould, like Everton and whatnot, and Man United. I saw improvements. It certainly wasn't 4 out of 10, but I'm trying to get 7, 8s out of you, buddy. And don't think it was an 8 out of 10 performance, you know. But he does look better with Xhaka. And like you said as well, you hit the nail on the head. Xhaka is Xhaka. You know, we know what we're going to get with him. He's going to half decently protect the ball. Let's give him his dues. He's good at protecting the ball. He's good at the odd decent cut and pass, you know. But yeah, he's not good. He's like someone said in the chat about Kessie. I love that dude. You know, he's not a Kessie, you know, and yeah, we just need somebody like that, really. I mean,
I
even
love how
Neves.
you guys are out here fetishizing players like Kessié and stuff like that. I'm just like, okay. No, I
Yeah.
guess I hear what you're saying, but again, I still think it's always kind of like you do realize that Thomas Partey, like his first game back off of injury was not too long ago. Like
You
you have
keep
to
on
come back off of injury.
putting
So,
that
I
cape on.
mean, I do think it's weird that people act like when you come back off of injury, you should just step right back onto the pitch and be normal. But yeah, there you go. Anyways, so that's the midfield. But after that first half, I did kind of feel like, okay, so what's going to happen here? Are we going to fall apart? Second half, are we going to let
Mm,
them back into the game?
mm.
Or are we going to kick it up into another gear? How did you feel going into halftime 0-0? You know, did you feel confident that we were going to win the game? Or did you think, you know, we could let it go?
Well, from what we saw in the first half, there wasn't anything to fear. And I just love how, you know, Martinelli kicked in the door and waved in the 4-4, you know, early doors. What is it, 47th minute? So we started that half the best you can possibly do it. It was a beautifully worked goal, you know. So from that perspective, nerves were at ease. Although I don't think we were really that nervous, to be honest. The fans, we knew it was going to come. The goal, we had some chances, decent ones. That being said, they had a few close shave ones as well, where Ramsey, you know, was just made sure and they fluffed their lines as well. And but yeah, once we got that goal, I thought we definitely need to bolster it with a second goal, you know, because it could be what I suspected it might be, which was 1-0 or 2-2. So yeah, that's how I was. Really pleased we scored an early goal.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. The first goal that came from Martinelli. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of felt like it was bound to happen, and the connection between Lacazette and Martinelli was really there. I think the
Mm,
ball into Lacazette came in from Gabriel, I think, who for me, Gabriel, like he's obviously always been a really good defender, but his distribution has got a lot better. He has his
mm,
crossfield balls are a lot better. The balls in between the lines are so much better. He's even starting to step past the defender and break the press a little bit,
mm,
which is nice. You know, so for me, it's kind of like, okay, seeing that from our defenders is a good thing because as we get better and better, we need to be able to sit at the halfway line and they kind of need to be our creators, you know. So the
mm,
ball came in from Gabriel. Obviously, Lacazette turns and finds Martinelli in space, and Martinelli's finish for the goal was very confident, but that's what I
mm,
expect from him. He's a very confident young player.
mm,
His performance yesterday for me was man of the match quality.
mm.
I have to admit
I
that
agree.
over the last, you know, I kind of felt the last couple times that I saw him play, I was like, man, have we overhyped him a little bit? Have we put a little bit too much on his shoulders? Is he going to reach that potential? And the last 3 games or so, I just thought, no, we haven't overhyped him because it goes with the skill. The skill goes with the tenacity and the work rate and that kind of stuff. And that's hard to
Mm,
find in a young player to have both. We know a
yeah.
lot of young players can be really talented, but don't have the right mentality. And we've heard that Martinelli is the first to get to practice and the last one to leave. And you
Mm,
can see that he's really been working on his defensive positioning is a lot
mm,
better
mm,
and slowing down and speeding up and not going 100 miles an hour all the time. I know Arteta said after the game that Martinelli now goes through the gears. He doesn't just run around at 100 miles an
mm,
hour, which is something that he was kind of doing. And when you
mm,
look at last season when Arteta, you know, took Martinelli out of the Manchester United game, you know,
mm,
I think it was away from home. I think it was away from home and brought in Willian and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh." But
mm,
back then Martinelli was kind of lost a little bit. He was kind of just going 100
Well, he
miles an
had a
hour.
like to use your Partey line. He
Yeah.
had a big injury. He was
Yeah,
coming back from the
he did have a
injury.
big injury. No, but that doesn't really apply here because I always say that Martinelli had an injury, and so
Oh,
you have to
okay.
take that into consideration. But it's not about the injury, it's about him developing into somebody that can make the right decisions at the right time. We always talk about how Saka does that. He makes the right decisions at the right time. And I thought sometimes Martinelli would just at the top of the box start trying to dribble out and dribble against 4 or 5 players when he should just pass. And he's doing better at that. And it's
Mm,
showing and he's reaping the rewards of it. And yesterday's performance was so well rounded from the pressing and actually winning the ball back to, the passing over to bukayo saka and being technically sound on the ball to finishing.
mm,
So for me, I just think that now we're in a good position because we have 4 players fighting for 3 positions, in Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Odegaard. And it's going to be interesting to see how they swap positions and stuff. But what do you think about Martinelli's performance and his goal? Do you think that what do you think his level really is? Do you think that he could become a central forward? Do you see him off of the left-hand side for the rest of the season? And isn't this the perfect time for him to kind of come into form, not knowing what's going to happen with Aubameyang?
I think Gabriel Martinelli can be anything he wants to be as far as an attacker is concerned. I think he really is one of those talents. I was nearly going to say generational talents, but I do not want to be atted on Twitter if it goes south. So, so what I'll say is he's one of those talents. He's amazing. I mean, even the stats bear it out. I mean, I was reading an article where it was saying the stat that like this was our 5th game this season that we had 20 shots in a game. Last season we only had 3 games the entire season where we had 20 plus shots. And this is our 5th game already this season. So, who's doing that, It's the Martinellis, it's the Lackers, it's even Thomas Partey had a few shots he tried to let off as well. But Dawson as well just was there. I think it was Dawson anyway. But we are it's just when you have a player like that in your midst, it makes everybody on job. Do you get what I mean? Like it makes everybody on job. So when he's coming there with his energy, with his getting into space, running behind, wearing poor fullbacks out, everybody else is thinking, yeah, like I want a bit of that. Let's go. So as far as I'm concerned, those are the intangibles a player like Martinelli brings to the team. He brings a certain je ne sais quoi, that makes other players think, right, I need to up my game. And you see it, you see it with how Saka continue. I mean, Saka is Saka, to be fair. So I don't think he relies necessarily on Martinelli, but it doesn't harm him at all to see, to be playing in a attacking line along with Martinelli. So yeah, long may it continue as far as I'm concerned. Long may it continue.
100%. There's about 120 of you guys watching. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the
Partey
channel.
shots are in my backyard. Oh man.
So you're trying to make it like overly funny. I mean, no
No,
offense, but is it that funny?
no, he put 5 you laughy emojis, and I'm there with you, Mohammed. I'm there with you. So Partey
I'm
needs
just gonna
to.
let you guys know that when Thomas Party comes good, you guys aren't
Okay,
invited. The Thomas Party
okay,
fan club
we'll
will
be
be
waiting.
closed
We'll be waiting.
because it's coming. So
We'll
that's
be
that's
waiting.
unfortunate that you turned your back on him so quickly. It
No,
really
I'm
is.
not turned.
Anyways, you turned your back on him,
You
and it's
got,
actually
yeah,
shocking. It's actually shocking. Sorry. But
you got me.
anyways,
You got me on here
when he
laughing
comes
like Mika
good,
Richards. You got me
Party
laughing like Mika
FC,
Richards on there.
we're not having any more entries. Your application will be denied. It will be thrown away on site, crumpled right up
I'll
and
come
thrown
through
into
the
the
window. I'll
trash.
come through the back window.
So
Don't worry. I'll be
nah,
there.
nah,
I'll be
because
there
now all of a sudden
celebrating.
you've rejoined the Lacazette fan club all late and stuff. So yeah, no, but yeah, so we scored the first goal, and I think
Yeah.
that that impending kind of like, oh my gosh, are we going to sit back and just kind of let them, now dictate play, because that's kind of what we've been doing. Not going to lie, that was the narrative and the commentary coming from this side, was just like, oh my gosh, they're going to sit back and what's going to happen. And so, but we continued to press on them. And there was a moment where like Martinelli got the ball and he nutmegged, I think it was like Souček. And then he came around, passed it to Partey. Partey passed it to Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu passed it to Saka, and Saka just burned Masuaku. And I was like, what's going on here? What is this confidence? And I felt like it was a good moment for us to see the team not drop off after they scored a goal, because I felt like it could happen at that moment. For you, like in the stadium, did you get that feeling that people are like, are we going to drop back? Or did we respond so quickly that there wasn't really a chance to feel that impending doom of us sitting back and giving up a goal?
Yeah, nah, it was just vibes. It was just vibes. And I think when you have the stadium, obviously players sense the energy in the stadium, and it's it's a two-way street. So our players sense the energy and it emboldens them and energizes them. And their players sense the energy and it makes them a little bit more, reticent or go into their shell. So, it was I can't even say, maybe it was where I was sat because it was a seat I don't normally sit in, but the energy where I was sat just felt like, and no, actually, no, it wasn't my seat, because the whole stadium was on vibes. The whole stadium was on vibes. And I think maybe that was because of what they saw at the Southampton. I wasn't at that game, but how we played against Southampton, that second half, if I was at the game for that second half, I think I would have come yesterday with the right energy, with the right vibe. And I think that translated to the players. And it's good to see that. It's so refreshing to see that, because you don't see it enough at the Emirates. Normally it's cagey, goes really quiet. We're really tentative. We're really, I know, there's groaning, there's complaints about players, and it translates to nervous tension, translates to the players. But there was none of that. It was just really, really, it was good vibes. It was really good vibes. And, the boys fed off that. They fed off it totally.
I know I'm like a little bit like wonky looking for some reason. Let me just change my camera really quick, if you don't mind. I think
No
it might be
worries.
that.
I've got my head like that as well. And sorry,
Oh
when I
yeah.
get when I you're all right
No.
now, yeah?
All right. Yeah. No. It's right. All right. So, all right. No.
See how
Where you're
it's her
okay,
show.
because you were
Okay.
about to start. You were about to start in. So yeah, but I think that we were so dominant and we just kept going at them, that it didn't feel like we were going to give it up until
Mm,
we got the penalty. And let me just
mm,
say this, like, Lacazette's performance is what you freaking expect from a captain. Like that level of pressing. And I'm sorry, I know people don't like his rolling around and flopping and stuff. When it's for me and my team, I'm loving it. And when we're getting the calls, I'm loving it. When it's somebody else
uh,
on a different team, of course you're a cheating bastard. But for
yeah.
me, Lacazette is my hero. He's my star.
It's just
He's
the
my
way, like
guy.
I said, he reminds me of my daughter. He reminds me of when my daughter is
In
in
what
a like
way?
when she's in a funny mood, like let's say she, like how do I put this? When she's just like, let's say she's really tired and she gets a bit angsty, any little thing just sets her off. So she might just bump into something. She'll be like, "Oh, daddy, my knee, or my hand, my finger." And it's like with Lacazette, when he gets a foul, he just reminds me of her. He just the energy he puts into his performances in terms of fouls or whatever, it just makes me laugh. Anyone would think he was in the theater of war the way he goes about things, but he wins us fouls. It works. He's not, I don't think refs see him as a diver, as a cheater. They just see him as somebody who makes a total meal out of legitimate contact. So if you watched the penalty, there was contact. He got the ball, but he got contact with Lacazette's shin. But the way Lacazette reacted to that contact, you would think his shin was made out of titanium or something. But anyway. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was like I think Sufal set himself up, and I think if one of our defenders had done that, I'd be like, why
Yeah.
were you flying in there so high? Because you pretty
Yeah.
much gave yourself an opportunity to get the penalty. So I don't, for me, I think it was maybe a little bit soft because he did get the ball. But
Mm,
ultimately, when you looked at the last couple of games, all of the top teams got penalties to win their games. I don't give a shit if we
mm,
get a penalty that's
mm,
dodgy. I don't care. I'm not
mm,
going to sit here and be like, well, because, it was a little bit soft and da la la. No. Like,
mm,
you get a penalty, whether it's dodgy or not. You're like,
mm,
sometimes you need a little bit of luck. Over the years,
mm,
we haven't had the luck. We
mm,
haven't had it. So I'm not about to sit here and be like all holier than thou, like, oh no, Lacazette, don't roll around anymore. Keep
mm,
rolling. Keep
mm.
rolling. Get that pen. And
Yeah.
he got it. And I thought, this is it. Like, this is
Mm,
it. We got him. Sufal gets his second yellow. He's out of the game. And I think it would have been the perfect ending to a really good performance for Lacazette had he had
mm.
made that penalty. How shocked were you that he missed it?
Not particularly, to be honest, because
He
like I
never
said,
misses it.
no, no, but like I said earlier, he's not a killer. He's not a killer. That number 9 is upside down. He's a 6 or something. I don't know, but he's not a killer. He's not a number 9. He's not a killer. He's not a Vlahovic. He's not a Wanigi. He's not a killer. That's the reality. And I don't know what happened because when he started, I remember you had a theory about he was a killer, and then Aubameyang came and he was a killer, and then he all of a sudden maybe Lacazette thought, oh, there's a killer here. There's no point being 2 killers, so I might as well be good at something else, which is my link up, hold up play, winning penalties, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that actually makes sense to me because how do we sign him and he's a killer, and then all of a sudden now he's not a killer? How do you explain
But
that?
that also shows that he actually isn't one but I do think that I feel like most players would have feel some sort of insecurity with Aubameyang at that point in his career coming in 6 months after you just got a big move there and you
Mm,
already weren't really fitting in. If
mm,
we're honest, when Lacazette first came, he was there to be better than Giroud, and
mm,
he was kind of like feeling his way through. Also, we were in a weird period. Aubameyang comes in, boom, he starts, and at that point, I don't think that Arsene was really trying to figure out a way to play them both together.
mm,
So it is interesting, but I think with Lacazette, it's kind of like I know he's on his way out, and yes, he should go. I'm gonna be very like point blank. I know I
mm,
saw a lot of should we extend Lacazette? Absolutely not. We should get a better version of Lacazette, a younger version of Lacazette, and move on from him. He's already rejected the contract extension, which is great. He's on 200 grand a week. And I just want to remind you guys that he's not particularly good away from home,
oh,
and I wish we could keep somebody, but
mm,
at this point, we really need to clean house. Like,
mm,
especially if at this point, I'm not 100% sure that Aubameyang's going to go. So one of them has to leave, and somebody's contract is just going to fall away. So
mm.
I don't think there's any like, oh, the Twitch stream died, you guys. I'm sorry. I don't know why that happened, but I'll figure it out and figure out why that happened. But I just don't think we should re-sign him. But the performance that he gave, although he missed the penalty, I mean, he had so many good moments in the box and outside the box. He was turning the players, winning fouls, like he was in and around everything good that was happening for us. He's not going to do that every single game. We know there's a Lacazette stinker right around the corner. There always is. But good performance from him, and had he had scored that penalty, I think I would have given him man of the match. But yeah, I mean, that's what you want from your captain, right? Is a performance similar to that. Were you
No,
afraid
what?
that Oh, go ahead.
No, no. I was going to say 100%. As far as his non-scoring performance is concerned, he works his socks off, and that's all any legitimate fan can ask. A player turns up and gives his all, and as far as Lacazette is concerned, he does that, and that's why so many of my friends shout out to Big Steph, Football Messiah. he's his biggest fan because and he's sort of hates Aubameyang. He's the person who hates Aubameyang the most, even before the latest furor. And the reason why simply is Lacazette is the better footballer, i.e., he's the better sort of playing with the ball other than scoring. Aubameyang is
Yeah.
obviously the killer, but Lacazette, apart from being a killer, everything else he's amazing at, but he wears the number 9 and that just doesn't sit too tough with me. Number 9 should be
No, no, no.
killers. That's how I was
But that's
raised.
why we need a better version of him that could do
Mm,
the things that he does, but scores goals. And the reason why the Firmino thing is never going to work for us, and Firmino scores goals, don't get it twisted. I think people, when they're
mm,
like, well, he can do the Firmino role because Firmino doesn't score. Well, he does. Look at his goal
mm.
scoring record. It ain't Mane and it ain't Salah, but he's no like bum. But
Yeah.
still, we need somebody who can score goals because Saka, ESR, and Martinelli aren't quite there in terms of 20 goals a season. So
Mm,
you can't have somebody occupying that central forward position and not really contributing to goals. It works right now, but we're
mm,
still way underneath what we need to be in terms of goal scoring. So I don't think we can have somebody like that. But if he can perform similarly to this for the rest of the season, that's the way you want to leave Arsenal. We've had too
mm,
many highly paid players that walk out of the back door that don't get a little clap at the end of their career. They have to
mm,
just kind of leave and we never hear from them again. I
mm,
think he's somebody that will leave out of the front door and it'll be okay and he won't shame himself on the way out. So I did like his performance, but after the penalty I did kind of think like, is this when it's going to happen? I mean, even down at 10 men, like Moyes was making changes. At one point he put Antonio at right back.
mm,
He was moving things around and they were going for it, which I kind of understand because if you're away from home, what's the difference between losing 1-0 or 2-0 at that point? And they were
mm,
really going for it. I thought after we scored our goal, there were 2 times where like Odegaard almost gave the ball away.
mm,
I think Gabriel even passed it back kind of short to Ramsdale. That could have been really scary. So it didn't feel that comfortable after that penalty, but we made some changes and we still kind of were dominant. And ESR comes in
mm.
and I thought he was pretty quiet. Like, I can't lie. I was about to tweet that what has ESR done like literally since he's been in the game. And I'm so
Damn.
glad I didn't send it because like right after he scored his goal and I was like, woo! Woo!
They would have
Woo, Lord.
came for you, girl. They would have come for you in their droves.
Oh
Trust
my
me.
gosh. I'm so glad I like checked my
Yeah,
phone because like I was obviously behind the stream a little bit because we're always a little bit behind. And I saw
yeah.
ESR and I was like, oh shit, he scored. And I was like, delete. Because I was just about to press send. Like, what has he done? But the goal that he scored, I thought it was super good. Like Tomiyasu and Saka kind of fighting for the ball, winning it,
Mm,
nicking it off of whoever that was, which was a theme throughout the game that our press was really good. We were winning the
mm,
ball, we were
mm,
aggressive, and Saka slides it in for ESR, and ESR scores a really nice goal. I mean, I think the best part of that goal for me was not just the finish, but they cut to Odegaard's face and
mm.
he was pissed. And I was
Oh,
like, that's what
really?
you want to see. Yeah, well, they cut to Odegaard's face.
Yeah,
And he was sitting there like all shrunken down. And I was like, he's pissed because
yeah,
there's competition now. There's
yeah,
competition now. Odegaard had been on a little goal scoring streak.
yeah,
Martinelli scored a goal, and
yeah,
ESR came straight in and scored a goal. And
yeah,
I like that. I like that. I feel like Odegaard, not that he's hating on Smith Rowe and he's like, oh my God, that asshole. But like, ooh, probably should have scored a goal because my position is under threat. Because ESR can play number 10,
yeah,
but he can
yeah,
also play off of the left. So
yeah.
I think having that that little bit of competition is good. But Martinelli 2 goals, 2 assists, and like 5 appearances. ESR has like 7 goals on the season. Um,
They're all on
Odegaard
job.
has
They're all on job.
4 goals. I mean, could you have imagined that these young players would have this amount of goals? I mean, it's not like they're blowing up things, but like I didn't think they had this level of end product. Does that kind of show that they are getting better and taking more responsibility and maturing as players?
1000%. 1000%. Like, ultimately, this is what you want to see. You want to see goals being spread out across attackers. Ideally, it would be nice if, some of the fullbacks or Thomas or, whoever from midfield can chip in with a few goals. Thomas had a couple of good chances, but he sort of dwelled on the ball a little bit too long. Xhaka had a really good chance, but he dwelled on the ball too long. It's like these midfielders are not KDB mold. I'm not saying about talent, I'm just talking about mold. And what I mean by that is when they're in an attacking position, they get attack minded and they go for the kill. We have midfielders that are comfortable being in the midfield, protecting the back four, passing to somebody they do the pre-assist. Our midfielders seem to be wired to be pre-assisters, so they pass before the goal.
Because
Whereas,
that's kind of who they are as players, but
can
Thomas
they not
Partey has
change?
never been. No, I don't think so. I think fundamentally, if you play in a double pivot deep in the midfield, that's kind of who you are. But I get what you're saying because for you, an 8 needs to be getting goals and
Yeah,
Ramsey-esque or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I there's different types of 8s. So, but you're going back to the
So
midfield, which is weird because we were talking about the young kids growing and developing, and you kind of reverted back to shots fired. What is that about?
look, I'm just calling it how I see it, Jess. I am just calling it how I see it. And the point I was making is we need goal distribution throughout the team. And there was like 3 or 4 chances from both, not just Partey, but Xhaka as well, where they were in ample positions where if they had let off a shot, if it was KDB or whoever, they let off a shot, it would have gone into the back of the net. Even Henderson, it would have gone into the back of the net. Whereas these guys, it's not even like the keeper saved it. They just hesitated too long on the ball. And this is what I mean about them not really being attack minded when they're in those positions, because it's almost like, oh my goodness, I'm in this position. What am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to. No, it's the Premier League. These defenders are not giving you 3-4 seconds to get your shot
All
off,
right.
you know?
All right. I get what you're trying to say. Anyways, but we are getting goals from different positions, and whether you like it or not, Odegaard is a midfielder, and we're getting goals from midfield. I know that probably what Ryan is saying, where I think he's saying Rodri and Gundogan and KDB and Foden and Sterling, like basically everybody in their team scores goals. But
Yep.
if you look at Liverpool, you know, Fabinho and Thiago don't score goals all the time. So it just depends on what kind of midfielders you have. And personally, I don't think Thomas Partey and Xhaka are Gundogan and KDB in terms of what they offer. But I do get that if they get in those positions, it would be nice if they finish those chances. But I think once we get a different midfielder, different than Xhaka, that might change. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But with the
Make the
young
keeper do Ramsdale type saves. That's all I'm asking. I'm not even asking score. I'm saying get your shot off. Make the keeper work for it. Yeah, work for a save. Don't even. I mean, when you're struggling to even get your shot off and you're getting closed down by the defenders, it's a bit like, lads, come on, like
Well, that was just one time
you're
with
on
Thomas
six
Partey where he
figures.
dawdled on the ball.
No,
Like, relax.
Xhaka as well. Xhaka as well. Xhaka did it as well a couple of times, if my memories doesn't mistake me.
Okay, anyways, we know that we need new midfielders. Like, it's almost like beating a dead horse. Like, we need new midfielders. It doesn't really it's not going to change anytime soon, Like, let it go. But anyways, I think it's a good thing that because I personally did not think that ESR would be on 7 goals. I think what does Saka have, like 2 goals and like 2 assists or something like that? He definitely needs. I think he's producing the most in terms of getting into those positions, but maybe
Mm,
not getting the assists and goals that he should be getting. I think
mm.
it's coming, but just seeing their growth and how good they've been so far in a season where we've really been lacking that um, end product from other, like the more senior players, like you've already said, the midfielders and Lacazette and Aubameyang. It's a good thing, that's a good thing. So I'm loving it. But 2-0 up. What did you think about Arteta pushing Martinelli back onto the pitch when he was injured on that side? What did you
Yeah,
think?
I like that. I like that kind of stuff. To be honest, he was vocal and animated throughout. I could see him like where I was sat. He was just to the right of me, not too far, and I loved the energy. And that I think again with the crowd, with the fans, it's what you want to see. He was adamant we weren't going to lose this game, and we didn't lose it, so it worked as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, like when I rewatched, I thought, okay, well, he was pushing him back on because he had went down off the pitch, so he couldn't get any treatment, and we were down
Mm.
a man, So I understand why he did that. Of course, there were people that made it seem like he was like this evil guy, this dictator dude, or whatever. But if that was Klopp
Really?
or Pep or whatever, nobody would be saying anything. Yeah, because it felt similar to when, like, at first glance when I looked at it, I was like, "Ooh, was it like when he pushed Partey back onto the pitch?" But it was different. Like
Mm.
Partey had did what Partey did was weird and brain dead that day. Like I
Mm.
was like, "Why are you coming off the, like, you're weird, like we're in the
Yeah.
middle of the game." But
Oh,
Martinelli
Tottenham,
was,
you're talking about?
yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
waste time, which I now what Arteta was thinking. He's gonna waste time. Can you
I've-
waste time on the pitch, like, because we're down a man? So he did the right thing,
mm.
but I think it's weird that, like, I saw a lot of it, like Arteta's not likable because he was running up and down the pitch and he was showing emotion and he pushed Martinelli back. I'm like, what is this? I don't even. So my thing is, like, I'm not like 110% into Arteta. I'm not sure if he's the right man for the job. But there's some things where I'm like, if that was any other manager, would you be even saying anything? Like, don't you want a manager that shows emotion? Don't you want a manager that's like doesn't want us to give up a goal? Like, it's freaking weird. I don't think Arteta did anything wrong. What did his energy look like on the sideline while you were there? I mean, it
Yeah,
looked
no,
great from like the outside, but didn't he look like he was into it? And why would he be?
I'm surprised. I am totally taken aback by what you just said, Jess, because if there are fans who are having taking umbrage with Arteta because he was high energy, he was wanting the players to get back on there, it's just Arteta outers sour graping. That's all they're doing. They're sour graping. They're looking for reasons just to be negative, really, because they still don't want him in. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I prefaced it. I'm an Arteta doubter. I'm not Arteta in by all costs. Trust the process, trust the process. I still have grave doubts about the process. But what I can say about the man is he is doing the best within his abilities. It's not so much about what he's doing, whether it's right or wrong, although he did make missteps last season, like some very big missteps with player management. But I think this season, it's not even really about that. It's just about whether he has the experience to deal with certain complex situations off the pitch and on the pitch tactically as well. That's my concerns, because that's the difference between winning a game, drawing a game like Manchester United, or losing the game like Manchester United. You get what I mean? Like that game, sorry, I know I was on that for that stream, but we should have drawn it at the minimum and we ended up losing it. So we lost 2 points. Those 2 points would come in handy right now. So those are the areas I have doubts about him, but it is what it is. We are where we are, and we've won. What is it? We've won 3, lost 3 out of the last 6. We're 4th. I'm getting off his back. I'm not looking for no silly reasons to be on his back. I'm getting off his back. Let's keep it moving. Let him do his thing. If he keeps it like this, he's all right with me. He's all right with me. That's my position anyway.
Yeah, and I just feel like I want to see what happens. Phillips just signed a 3-year contract. With who? With Leeds? Mm. Yeah,
Look at
but
Tim. Look at Tim though, trying to make it. He knows Leeds. No, bruv. This is She Knows Arsenal, brother. Yeah.
oh my gosh. But yeah, you guys go ahead and get your questions in. If you have any, just do some questions towards the end of the show. But I think for me, I just want to wait and see where we are at the end of the season. I think with, we'll go through a rough patch and then it'll be like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. And then we come to Southampton and West Ham and win games and then everything feels right again. So we won't really know where we are until the end of the season. We're sitting in fourth, but there's a
Mm,
lot of teams that have a shit ton of games in hand, so we don't know what's going to happen there. But we took care of business where we could. We stopped that narrative that we can't perform under pressure, which is really important, I think. And the performance matched the result, which
we beat a team
hasn't
above us.
really happened. Yeah, that
You
really
know?
hasn't happened. I don't think. I mean, you could look at the North London Derby. I think we performed well there, but there were large parts of that match where I felt like we kind of just sat back.
Mm,
um, Against Aston Villa. They kind of just fell apart. We also let them back
mm,
into the game towards the end again. Against
mm,
Leicester, we know what happened. We got on top early and then again we sat back. This is the
mm.
first game where I felt like from minute 1 to 90, we were pretty much on the same level for the entire time. We played a tough opponent.
100%.
Let's not get it twisted. Like they're not anything to just laugh at. And Antonio was anonymous, Bowen was anonymous, and that wasn't because they
Mm,
played shit. It was because we made them look bad, because we
mm,
played so well. And we haven't really even talked about the back five, but we've talked a lot about Kieran Tierney. And
mm.
I get that he's not, you know, as exciting maybe as Tavares, but watching him yesterday, I just thought I missed that. I missed feeling confident that that person is going to make the right decisions. And Tavares is fun and he goes forward and he has different things about his game that Tierney doesn't have. But Tierney's also a really good fullback, and I think he fits with that group really well and he has experience. So how did you feel seeing him back in the team and getting back into the groove of things? And he almost scored a goal. What did you think of his performance? Because he was a little bit, coming back into it against Southampton, but I thought he was really good against West Ham. But I saw some people saying like, well, he was just okay. And I think that that's
Yeah.
harsh because I thought he was really good.
Yeah. No, I was chatting to one of my boys on the way back from the match, and he he basically put it like this. He was like, Tavares is girlfriend material, but KT's wifey, man. KT's
Oh,
wifey.
hell no, you
KT
guys.
KT
You
makes
guys in
your
the chat, were
meals.
you guys here
You know.
yesterday? Because I made that analogy yesterday on this
What?
show. So whoever
Really?
that is stole that from me.
Seriously, did you? For the
That is
same
just
what
you
for
got
those
who
two?
was here? Who was here? I said Tavares was like that little mistress that is making you feel young again and is hot and all of that.
Yeah,
But KT is wifey that cooks dinner and you go home and you
that's
realize
it. Run
KT
that
is beautiful.
bath.
KT is
Yeah,
beautiful, takes care of
There
you,
you go.
old faithful, it's
There
old
you go.
faithful,
Yeah, no,
so
that's it.
yeah,
KT,
yeah.
you go out for dinner, she puts on a new dress, does her makeup up. You're like, this is why I love you, man. This is why I fell in love with you, girl. That's why I fell in love with you. That's what we saw yesterday. We saw that from KT. We saw why we fell in love with him. But I've always, Jess. You know it. I've been riding from KT from the get-go.
You
Most
were riding
consistent.
so hard for KT that you
I'm
refused to say Tavares was good.
Look, I ride for KT like you ride
You
for
hated on
Partey. Although
Tavares
I
kind of
have
hard.
justification for the way I ride for KT in the sense that last season he was our guy, Mr. Consistent. Okay, he had a few injuries, but when he wasn't injured, he was consistently in the top 3 performers for us, even though we had a bad season. So I was so shocked how Arteta wanted to jettison him so quickly because he had a
He
new
did it.
girlfriend in Tavares, and all of a sudden he saw Tavares in training, and he thought, "Ooh, okay, let's put you in," And KT, nah, you shouldn't have done KT like that. But anyway, he's back. Normality, common sense has been restored, and it's KT's place to lose. When people was telling me, you even said it in here, Jess, when you were saying it's Tavares' place to lose, Like, I was just listening, but in my mind, I was like, fam, are you mad? Like, you know what KT did last season about Tavares
Yeah,
plays to
I
lose?
know what he did, but I
Nah. What,
thought in
because of Villa?
Arteta's
Because of Villa?
no,
Because of the
because
Villa game?
I said Arteta is pretty
These
much
lot
like
fickle.
Tavares has to lose that spot, and he did. He left the door cracked, and I think he was also a nice little cheat code for a team that was struggling to progress the ball. I think without Xhaka and Thomas Partey playing well, to be honest, we were really struggling getting the ball off the pitch, and we would just let Tavares dribble up, and it was working for a little bit, but he had some moments where he just wasn't uh staying back and was kind of overzealous to go forward, and
Mm.
it just kind of made you realize that, like, well, when I felt more comfortable with Kieran Tierney, because I knew that he may not be as exciting, but he's going to be where he needs to be when we need him to be there. And that's the
Yeah.
most important. I think he's so underrated technically. I
Yeah.
think he's a good passer, a great crosser of the ball. And his little move that he has where he burst past, it may not be fancy, but it works. It
Mm.
works. I like Tierney
It's
is no
trusty.
stranger to a flop either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love that he buys us fouls. And
Yeah.
if he had scored that screamer, I
Yeah.
think people would have a different maybe position on how he played yesterday. But I thought he was great, along with the back four.
Yeah.
It wasn't a standout Ramsdale performance, but I was happy for us to win a game
Mm.
that wasn't where Ramsdale wasn't the main talking point. It wasn't that Ramsdale saved us. He did have one really good save, but
Mm.
it really wasn't about that. And Gabrielle was great. Ben White was great. Tomiyasu. Is he
Mm.
not giving you Sanya vibes? I feel like Tomiyasu is kind of like Sanya in that way, where he's not really like. Did you rewatch it? Because you said
Yeah.
that you didn't think Tomiyasu was good going forward, and I feel like you're kind of on an island there. I want you to explain yourself
What a diss. So basically, you're saying I'm chatting doo doo. I'm on an island. That's the first time I've heard that. I'm gonna use that one. I'm on an island. All right, all right, all right, folks. I'm on an island with Tomiyasu. Now let me break it down. Basically, he's okay going forward if we're talking about passing it to Saka. But if we're talking about outside of Saka creating an attack in terms of, other options, I know he's right-sided and people say, duh, that's what he's supposed to do. But ultimately, I thought he was good. I don't want to say okay. He was better than okay. I thought it was good. But then he did a few things. He made a few silly errors where, he lost possession and whatnot. And I wouldn't say it was his greatest game. I would not say it was his greatest game, but he balanced it out by how he
You
made
guys
sure
get this man, arrest him. This was one of Tomiyasu's
God.
best performances,
This was
and he
one
was
of, you
good.
know what? We're gonna
He
do a
was good
watch
on the
along. We
ball.
should actually do a watch along to re-watch the match because that needs to be put right. It wasn't one of his best performances, fam. No, I'm not having that. No, I'm not having that.
My friend,
Chat box, please,
you
man.
need
Come
to.
save me from this
My
rationale.
friend,
Save me.
you are on
Nah,
an
save me,
island
chat box.
alone. I have not heard anybody say, you know what,
Okay.
Tomiyasu,
Mohammed
this
said
was
you
la 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 da da da.
misunderstand Tommy's positioning game. Oh, okay. Okay, fam.
You misunderstanding his positioning.
There you go. Okay. I
Say you don't know,
misunderstand his.
funny.
That's it. I
You, my
misunderstand
friend,
his
do
positioning
not
game.
know ball. That's
There
exactly
you
what he
go.
said.
There you go. I came for
Anyways,
rugby. I came for rugby last night. So.
let's see. Here's some
What Tommy
questions.
was brilliant. Okay. Okay. Fine.
See, I told you. Okay, Yo-Yo said, should there be an impromptu break in the Premier League after this weekend? Who will benefit most and least in the top four race? I personally think that they should.
Big ups to Yo-Yo, by the way. When I'm in the chat box, I love his inputs. So yeah, I just wanted to
We
say
don't
that,
know
bro.
if we don't know
Oh,
if Yo-Yo, what we don't know, let's not
okay.
assume Yo-Yo.
Okay. Okay.
Let's not assume.
Okay, my
But
bad.
yeah, but I love Yo-Yo's input. Probably one of the best
100.
commenters that we have, by
100.
far.
100.
Always, I basically just steal what Yo-Yo says and just pass it off as my own. But I think they should take a break for at least 2 weeks to try to at least get the protocols and the bubble back in place for a minute. I
Hmm.
don't think they're going to be able to stop the season the way that they did before. There's too much money wrapped up in it. I would hate for us to go back to no fans in the stands. So I would like to see a 2-week break at the very least until like January 8th or whatever they said. I thought
Mm,
that would be the best possible thing. But I think when it comes to who it's going to benefit the most or the least for the top four race, I think although games in hand seem good, because when you're looking at the opposition, you're thinking, well, those are wins, and you're counting them as wins. When they're shoved in between Champions League games, FA Cup games, and they're coming thick
mm,
and fast, and the pressure becomes more on top of you, and especially if the people in and around you are winning their games,
mm,
I think it benefits us a little bit more than it would benefit Spurs and Man United. And that's not to say that they're going to lose every single one of those games, but I think they're underestimating having 3 to 5 games jammed in between already other pressured games. You know, it may be Norwich, it may be Brighton, it may be lower level opposition, but those boys are turning up. You know, I don't think
mm.
Chelsea thought for a minute they were going to draw against Everton
Everton,
at
yeah.
home today,
Yeah, that was
you
mad.
know. So, and that's without all this pressure, you know, and if players are still in and out with COVID throughout the rest of the season, having games jammed in between and then missing
Mm,
players here and there and playing in
mm,
a whole bunch of competitions, I
mm,
don't think that benefits the teams that are having these pileups, but it's going to depend on the coaching. Can they figure out a way to get their team playing consistently
mm,
like every 2 days,
mm,
and then who has the deepest squad. And I think
mm,
at this point, United has a deeper squad than Spurs. But what do you think about that? Do you think that, I mean, in a break, I just think if you have games in hand, it doesn't really benefit you that much. But I mean, if we took a 2-week break, you know who
mm,
it does benefit? The teams that have some players out
mm,
injured. Does anybody
mm.
have players injured right now that's in that top 4 race really? We don't really have
Well,
any players injured. Man United, they don't really have anybody
yeah,
injured. They have COVID
yeah.
cases. Uh, Spurs, they don't really have any major injuries
No,
either.
no, they don't. They don't. But yeah, I mean, from a purely selfish point of view, being in the UK, London, and seeing the
Mhm.
Arsenal quite regularly, it's just so sad if we wouldn't be able to have something like we're just all used to. And it's not even just about the actual going to the games, but even just
Mhm.
anyone in the festive period, wherever you are in the world, you love the club, you love English Premier League football. It's just weird not to have any games during the festive period. So for me, it's going to be a tough to deal with that, but it is what it is. What I will say, and I don't mean to have a go at any gooners out there, I love my gooners, but when I went to the match yesterday, I would say out of all the people that I saw in and around the stadium, just everywhere, like only about 20% had a mask on, and I had my
Mhm.
mask and I had it on, but I got to be honest, like it got to the point where I just took it off, like because I wanted to chant and sing, but I just felt a bit of peer pressure because everybody else didn't have their mask on, and I guess, yeah, what does that say about things? Like people maybe not taking it as seriously as they should, but clearly it's running rampant now. So it's a tough one, but it'd be a shame if we have to cancel matches or postpone matches because we really need to keep this pressure on. And I don't want any reason for us to let up on the pressure and the consistency that we've got currently in form,
Yeah, that's the other thing is that we're kind of in a groove right now. It
Mm,
doesn't feel like it, but we kind of are in good form at the moment. I think in the form chart at the moment we're number 2, you know, so it's kind of like, damn, that would kind of take us off the boil a little bit. But what I will say is that if they take fans out the stands and they go back to 5 subs and we get water breaks back, Arteta's cooking. 'Cause that's when we saw our best
yeah,
Arteta was when he had some water breaks. When he had some water
yeah,
breaks, he was coaching. I was like,
trust me.
"Wow, Arteta's really using this." Like, he's really
Yeah,
using it, so we'll
totally,
definitely see what
totally.
happens.
It'll work for us if they change it up like that.
Mikel says, "If Laka, Abba, Pepe, Elneny, Niles all leave, who will your replacements be?" You guys always ask these, These
Yeah, I doubt
transfery
that.
light cushions.
Yeah, no, I
Whoa,
mean,
hold on. Okay, because I know what you're about to say. I doubt that these people go. Lacazette is for sure gone. We
yeah,
know Pepe doesn't even exist. That man is
yeah.
gone. He's gone. El Neni is free. So let's do those three at the
So
least.
how do you know Pepe's gone? What, just because he's out of the team at the moment? How do you
You
know he's
guys,
gone?
Is Pepe gone? Chat box, is Pepe gone?
You know
Is
what?
he
I think
finished? Is he done at
the
Arsenal? Let's
football
keep
is
it 100.
no, football is a strange world. God
Oh,
forbid
you
we
are so. This is not what
no.
you be saying. This is
No,
not what you
no,
be
no, no.
saying.
Hear
You
me
be
out. Hear me out,
lying.
Jess. Hear me out. Hear me out. Yeah.
Lying.
Football is a strange world. And what I mean by that is every team is one big injury away from the complexion of who is starting changes. Now, let's not assume he's gone because, God forbid, but if we were to get an injury and we required Pepe to play and Pepe started to have one or two half decent games, all of a sudden the narrative changes. So I wouldn't be so definitive halfway through the season that Pepe's gone. Like, a squad needs depth. And as much as we might say Pepe, he's not really doing it. And I agree with the
What are
sentiment.
you
Don't get me
saying?
wrong.
Why are you
I'm
being
not a
political right
I'm
now?
not a believer, as I called him. I'm not a believer. I don't believe in Pepe, So I understand what people are saying about Pepe, and it's refreshing to see that Arteta is giving other people a chance. I wouldn't even say he's benching him as in a deliberate "I don't like you, Pepe," but he's seen that other people can do a job and Pepe can't. But things change, injuries happen, and you have a squad for a reason. So I wouldn't be so quick to write him off. That's what I'm saying. Sorry, I know I just gave a Fidel Castro
Anyway,
style
so
lecture.
he asked who would be our replacement. So let's actually answer the question. Okay.
Okay.
And by the way, Pepe is definitely 100% going. Hold on, Pepe is gone. Pepe is over. Pepe and AMN are emergency backups. So most people are saying he gone.
Thank you, Herb.
Oh,
Read that, Herb. Read that, Herb. Read that, Herb. Go
I
on.
don't see her.
Pepe is going nowhere. Oh, which big team wants
Yeah,
him?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Read the rest. Read the rest. Read the
What
rest.
big
See,
team
see.
wanted him prior to
Gotcha.
coming to Arsenal?
Gotcha.
All right,
Okay.
Herb. All right, Herb. That
Gotcha.
went.
Okay,
Yeah, that,
so who would you be your replacement
yeah,
for Lacazette? Because he's 100% going. He better go. We better not
yeah,
extend this man.
yeah,
Let him go on his merry way.
yeah. Well, Union Berlin have an exciting country
Don't
patriot of
embarrass
mine,
me.
compatriot.
Don't embarrass
Awoniyi.
me.
Nah, he's a beast. He's a beast. He's a beast. He's a beast. He's a
You
beast.
guys,
I'm sorry,
he's
he's
out
a
here
beast.
embarrassing me. Who is this
Nah,
man that
nah,
you're talking about from
nah,
Union
nah, nah,
Berlin?
nah. He's a beast. He's a beast. He's one of those players I just think it's worth. Yeah, let's do it. He's a beast. He's a beast. That's all I'm gonna say. He's a
Anyways,
beast. Look, when
so
you get off this, guys, go onto YouTube and look up Union Berlin's Awoniyi. I know some people are gonna go, I don't know about him, but just look it up if you don't
he's
know,
acting like he's a
and
damn
and
scout.
and
This is
holler at
just
me,
too fucking much
in
for me.
Twitter. Shout me out on Twitter. Yo, nice one, bruv. Shout me out.
So what I will say is
Yeah.
that because of Aubameyang, I think the club is going to be looking for a replacement for both. But I feel like you want somebody that's similar to Lacazette in a
Mm,
way, but a little
mm,
bit more of a creator or something like that. But what I will say, see, people are out here I mean, you just have embarrassed me to the high heavens. All right, so um I actually been one because I'm not convinced about the strikers that are out there. I feel
mm,
very like, okay, what are we about to do? Because I think they're all quite risky. They're going to all be expensive,
mm,
young,
mm,
relatively kind of proven, but not really. And I
mm,
just feel like either they have the build up play and no goals, or they have
mm,
the goals and no build up play, or
mm.
they're meh, so, or maybe they don't have the physicality or whatever. So it's a
But
weird one, but
sorry to cut you, Jess, but if they have
ugh,
the
of course
build-up
you
play,
cut me. I was
if
cooking.
they have the, let me just ask you this question though: if they have the build-up play and the goals, like, are Arsenal going to be paying what you want for them? Because that sort of player, you're talking about 80 million plus in the current market. If they're the
Well,
right age as well.
the reality is whoever we're spending like any striker that we're gonna be getting
Mm.
that's worth it is gonna cost us at least 60. Like, nobody's gonna be giving us Vlahovic is gonna cost 80. Calvert-Lewin from Everton is gonna cost us at least 60. Isak is gonna cost you 60.
Is he?
Darwin Nunez. So that's who I wanted to talk about is
Okay.
Darwin Nunez from Benfica.
Yeah.
I hadn't done too much research on him until earlier this morning because I was just like, I heard his name a couple of times and I was like, what is he like? And I do like South American players. I just think they have a different type of work rate. And I would hope that Edu has some sort of connections in and around that area. But Darwin Nunez is an interesting one because he has the height and the physicality, but he's fast. And he also has the build-up play. And he also has the goals. The only thing is that he plays in that Portuguese league. So we're not quite sure how much that's going to translate over to the Premier League. But he's 22 years old, 6'2", and he's a good player, and he kind of reminds me, he's the only player that I've looked at that kind of reminds me of Haaland in that way where he's scary running at you. He has a little bit of skill, but he is a killer. And
Okay.
so for me, that's somebody that if you guys are looking for somebody that's kind of a little bit different that people aren't really talking about, I would say him. In terms of the midfielder for El Neni, I think getting on a free transfer, getting Zachariah would be a
Mm.
good option because he's free. And I
Mm.
don't think, people are saying he's not good enough. Well, you guys also said Tavares wasn't good enough either. You guys were like, take him. And he's been pretty good. So I don't know if I can listen to you guys. But yeah, I think Zachariah might be a good on a free to replace El Neni. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I like him. I mean, I've not seen much of him in club, but what I saw of him playing for Switzerland, I like what I saw, I like what I saw. That's all I'll say, really. Um, yeah, I think he's good enough to come in, not play like 50 games, 40 games a season, but play enough like, bit more than El Neni. I think El
Mhm.
Neni probably gets a hard rap in terms of his place in the team, but I think Zachariah will take some of the pressure off our midfield starters for sure. But what I wanted to ask you, just what about that dude, that striker at Villarreal you were getting head over heels about, a few months ago? You still has what kind of season is he
You
having? What's
talking
his
about
name
you talking
again?
about Yusuf Al Nasiri
Yes.
from Sevilla?
Sevilla, that's it. Sorry, my bad. How's he
I don't think
holding
he's
up this
played
season?
that much. I don't think he's played that much this season.
Oh
I
dear.
thought
Wow.
I
Injured?
think
Is he injured?
I think he's injured or they're just not playing him, but I think the weird thing about this whole striker thing is that I personally would prefer to get the perfect profile
Yeah.
and gamble on them becoming what we want them to be
Yeah.
than get somebody who's a little bit more finished,
Yeah.
but is not going to have the things that we need them to have. So let's talk about like if you talk about Calvert-Lewin,
Mm,
exactly, Tams. The striker market is actually shit. When you look at it,
mm,
it's like we're going to be spending at least 60 million on a young player,
mm,
but I'd rather pick the profile that's going to work for us. So when I looked at Calvert-Lewin, he doesn't get any assists. He
mm.
has very little technical quality in terms of like what Lacazette was doing. He's not going to be able to do that for us.
Nah, not at
And
all. Not at all.
and at the basic level, like
Mm,
he's a really good athlete that can get in the he's a kind of poachery type.
yeah,
He's athletic and strong and
yeah,
physical, but
yeah,
he's not going to offer us much more. And I think he's only gotten 15 goals in the Premier League, and he's been in the Premier League for a while. Each
yeah,
season, that's the most he's ever gotten.
yeah,
You're gonna have to pay Everton 60 million for this guy,
yeah.
And
They'll be getting
so
us back for Iwobi. We got to be careful
yeah,
there.
I
It's a
just
get back.
yeah,
You
that's
know?
why I look at it and I'm just like, I don't know if that's the right thing. Ollie Watkins, I get that, but I think he's fallen off this season. I don't
Totally,
think that he's
totally.
Arsenal standard, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like I'm not sure about that. Ivan Toney would like to see him score some more goals.
Mm,
He has like 3 goals this season. He hasn't
mm,
really done it. So when I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, what's in Europe and
mm,
what has the right profile that could potentially end up being what we want them to be. So even Isak, I think, is a huge risk because he's very raw. But I like the the
I would
qualities that he
I
has.
would see
Like,
him as a replacement for Pepe, to be honest, because I see Isaac. I know he's a striker before people start pouncing on me in the chat, but ultimately I see him more as an inside forward. The way he's so good technically on the ball, it's not so much about only being a killer, but he can create his own goals as well. So I see him more as an inside forward than an out and out striker. And I think he would do well with that skill set. Like I've said it before, like for me, Isaac is what Pepe should have been. Like when I watched Isaac in the Euros, I was like, this is what Pepe should be doing for us, you know. And yes, it's the Euros, and yes, I don't watch him week in, week out, but you know, I think it was a good snapshot of what he's capable of. So I like Isaac for that, but I don't think he's an out and out sort of number 9 type player. Not for me anyway.
Mikhail also asked, which type of midfielders do you think Arsenal needs? A Ruiz of Napoli or Basuma of Brighton. So essentially, do we need a Rodri or do we need a Fabinho?
Mm,
Rodri is
mm,
more Busquets.
mm,
Fabinho is more Gilberto.
mm,
There's two different types of sixes that you could
mm,
get,
mm.
but they offer you different things. For you, you just want an eight. You want an eight that's in the box that's gonna, get
I
shots and
want
and they're gonna be cool in front of goal.
I want a
Let's
modern
go
day.
now.
I want a modern day 8. I'm living
You're
in
crazy.
2021. Yeah, I want a modern day modern 8, and a modern 8 can do the grunt work, but then can also start banging shots when it needs to be. Yeah,
Anyways.
he's not afraid to bust his gun. Yeah, that's what I want. I
Well,
don't want these guys
not
here. They're
bust his
walking around with
gun.
it in the
Whoa.
holster, and when it's time for action, they're all fumbling and all over the place. No, I don't want that.
Anyways, so no, but I hear you. I personally think that we need both. But I think we need the Fabinho first and then go and get the other one. But they could both come pretty quickly. I think Zachariah is already the number 6, quite similar to Fabinho. That's going to sit next to another midfielder that's going to do more of the creating, and he's going to do most of the sweeping. That's what I think
Nash-
Zachariah gives you. But let
Nashville's
me
made
let
a
me
good
let me
shout.
let me
So,
finish. Let me
so
finish. I'll get to Nashville. Hold on.
okay,
But
so
and then if you want more of like the Rodri type, they're very hard to find that are really good. I mean, Rodri's very one of a kind and he's really grown into that role. But I would say somebody like a Bruno Guimaraes that's just very all around, can kind of play make from deep, can also beat a man, is also defensively sound. So you could do two of those, but Rodri's don't come very often and he also plays in possibly the best team in Europe. And we don't quite have that. So I would rather protect us a little bit. Frankie de Jong is not coming to Arsenal. Sad to say. Love the player. We can't get close to him. We can't get close to him. I mean, even just watching his compilations
we
hurt so
can't reach
badly.
him. We can't
We
reach him. We
can't we
can't reach
can't
his
reach him.
agent. His agent's giving us a number for an agent. We can't reach his agent.
I'm crying. Okay, so Nashville says ESR is a modern 8 in 2 years. Yeah, I think Odegaard, you probably don't agree with this, but I think Odegaard and ESR as they get older will eventually become 8s. That's what I
No,
just
I
think.
agree with that. I agree with that. No, I think I said that.
Well, you
I've
don't know
watched.
ball, so I didn't know if you don't know ball.
You see it.
Sure.
I come on here to be insulted. Can you imagine? Oh my goodness! Look, at the end of the day, Odegaard has what it takes. I mean, he's tried to implement it in a few games, but ultimately, I think he's still finding his feet somewhat. But yeah, definitely, he can be an 8. I don't see why not. ESR, I don't know. Like, I've not yet seen enough of that in his game. Maybe it's just me, but I just see him as being more a wide player that comes inside, really. I don't, yeah, I can't see him being a full, not box to box, but I don't see him like that at the moment. I don't see it personally at the moment, but who knows? What do I know? He could be it,
Yeah, what do
you
you
know.
know? What do
But
you know?
what I was gonna talk about is Nashville mentioned Tyler Adams, and what I wanted to say is I think he's got a slight injury problem. That's what I've heard anyway, that he's always injured. Now, a lot of people have said Declan Rice in the chat box as well. And I want to say, apart from what's his name, the centre back, I think Declan Rice was their man of the match. I would love to have Declan Rice, even in our group chat. On my way back from the stadium, I wrote in the group chat, I quote, 35 million plus Partey, I would take Declan Rice. 50 million.
He has completely torn his drawers on this show. He's finished. He's done out here. Talking about sending my Thomas Partey to West Ham when he should be saying, bring Declan Rice to come play with Thomas Partey. Do you see what I'm dealing with? Do you see what I'm dealing with here? He has completely torn his drawers. And again, when Thomas Partey comes good, the fan club is closed. Applications are getting dumped in the trash, in the shredder, you know? So, yeah. You're back.
Cold world. It's a cold world. You just did. Oh, I'm about to have a breakdown here, guys. Did you see that? Did you see that? She Pepe'd me. She Pepe'd me live on the stream.
Mhm.
All right, all right. It's
Yeah, I
love.
sure did.
It's
But
love.
yeah, well, I mean,
It's all
we'll
love.
see. I think there's a lot of people that want different things. So it's kind of like it's how you see football and what you think. I know some people are not interested in a Basuma type because they feel like we already have too many defensive midfielders, so we need something a little bit different. I think we need both, both those types of players, deep lying playmaker, a better version of Granit Xhaka, and a six, like a Zachariah type. And we'll be good to go. But we'll see what happens. Usopp's rubber band says, "Bro just lost his damn mind." You know what I'm
Look,
saying? Like
man,
he's
look,
just out
man.
here on the show, just wilding out, talking about Thomas
Look,
Partey. This is
the
a
world
no
needs.
party slander zone.
The world
Sorry, I don't.
needs
I can't. I
blue
can't.
sky thinkers. The world needs. If we didn't have blue sky thinkers, we'll still be living in cages. Yeah, the world needs IOs. Yeah, so don't get all up in your. Thomas Partey is not. What's the word? He's not. I mean, he's not. I can't even get the word out. You know what I'm trying to
And
say.
you know what? The reason why you can't get it out is because you don't need to say it. All right, you guys, we've already went overtime. You guys, if you guys enjoyed the show, please like the video and
Please like
subscribe
it,
to the
or she
channel.
won't have me back.
I will be back. You, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be previewing our game against Leeds. If it goes ahead. From what my understanding is that they have about 5.5 players that could play against us, but most of it isn't COVID related. And from an Arsenal perspective, we don't have a COVID outbreak at the moment. So we'll see what happens, but we will be previewing the game and maybe doing a little Q&A tomorrow. So make sure you guys are back here and I'll let you guys know what time because you guys know I never let you know because I never know what I'm going to be doing. Like that video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you guys follow Io on Twitter so that he can get his Twitter follows up because man's out here. He has about 145 followers. So right there, IO 1886. Get his followers
Wow.
up.
I come on the
Get his
stream to be trolled. Nice. This lovely world we're living in, Okay. Okay, yeah. Follow me at IO1886. I always say this. I follow real Gooners back. It's not a hype thing. It's about showing Gooners love. Follow me, I'll follow you back. And yeah, it's all good.
All
Just
right.
because
I'll
I
talk
haven't
to
got 13K followers like you and a pretty face that just
All right, guys. See you guys in the next one. Bye.